It feels like history is repeating itself. When Stellar Blade first came out, we saw controversy around Eve's design. Now that Stellar Blade Blood Rain, the sequel, has been announced, we're seeing the same conversations happening again. But before we get into that, we just reached 100 subscribers. So thank you guys so much for your support. A lot of you joined from the last Stellar Blade video I made. And if you're new here, welcome to Player One POV. Let's get into it. So first we had complaints about Eve's design. Now we're upset about Stellar Blade's newest protagonist, Evie. And of course, it's not all bad. Stellar Blade has a really neat fan base that has grown since then, and there's lots of love from men and women and gamers alike that really are excited about this game. But the haters are gonna hate, and they are. And the biggest argument is that Evie looks too young. Now, this is not a new complaint. This is something that they said about Eve, which I feel like was very false. But they may have a case here about the protagonist looking too young. When IGN interviewed Hyung Kim Tae, the creator of Stellar Blade, he had this to say. Yes, she is younger, she's smaller in size, she's shorter than Eve, but she has a stronger personality and engages in much tougher battles, and she's actually part of a special squad that chases after a group of terrorists who cause terror attacks here and there in the city. And yeah, they are actually going for a younger protagonist. This is a style choice. I do think that a Western person and younger 20-somethings can look a lot older than, say, a Korean 20-somethings. There are videos on this where real Koreans actually talk about the age and how a person looks, whether they're too young or not, and actually in regards to Stellar Blade. And I think you should check those out. There's a lot of commentary on that. I do agree that a young Korean person may not look like a young adult Western person. I think there's some projecting going here, and I think there's a bit of a cultural gap here. I also think that we are treating Stellar Blade, this newer game, Blood Rain, like the last Stellar Blade. Like we're here to have a protagonist that's just purely eye candy and all of that, but I do think Shift Up is really trying to design a character with way more personality here. The trailer itself did not really display any fan service that would make it be concerning of a younger looking character. And on top of that, yes, there was some wiggly and jiggle when the cape came off, but I think that's just kind of in-game physics. You're gonna have that, but I don't think that this is something that they're really trying to portray her in the same way they did Eve. I think this is something that feels more of like a character of substance. Shift Up had more to say, or Kim had more to say from IGN, and they asked, are they concerned about how the character is going to be perceived considering how young they look? And he says, if you actually play the game, you will not think that. I definitely like how Eve looked in the previous Stellar Blade, but this time Evie, not just her physical looks, but her personality, the way she talks, the way she engages in battle, all that will combine together and you will see that she's a very lovable character. It really does seem like they're trying to build a character that has substance and not super attractive. I loved Eve, but I do think she didn't have a ton of personality. She was something that was kind of just good to look at and had some pretty cool combat moves and all of that. But it really does seem like they're trying to build a world here and expand the game more with substance. And I think newer players are going to come in because of that. And I'm very excited about this new game. I don't want to beat the dead horse about talking about controversy personally. These are my 2 cents on it. Let's move on and talk about the rest of the game here. Alright, let's get into what we know about this new game. We know it's supposed to be a standalone sequel in the same universe. It reminds me of a very Final Fantasy style approach of storytelling here. If we're going to just be kind of in that same universe, same creatures, same type of setting, but different characters. You know, some of the Final Fantasy games have similar worlds and sometimes same monsters, same concepts. This is the exact same world, but it does remind me of that very JRPG approach of just like slapping the name Stellar Blade and here's a new character. I think that's pretty cool, but I really will miss Eve. I'm conflicted about it. Really, I am. I know that the sequel part also conflicts me because it does feel very like a prequel, because the land is so populated and there is so much activity. When in Stellar Blade, it was very barren, it was very post-apocalyptic, society was kind of on the brink of collapse, and the angels were trying to fight to restore order back to Earth from the Natiba. And it really just seems like life is organized and everything is kind of good with some terrorist attacks. If you know the story, don't want to spoil things, it does feel a little bit more like prequelish. And I could see how they could build from like how things got really bad in the war because of the terrorist attacks and things took over. But apparently it's a sequel. Maybe there's other part of the world that they're exploring that was more populated and wasn't so desolate, or maybe things have built up again from Mother Spear and there's more order in the world between civilization on Earth. I'm really not trying to give away the lore here, so I'm kind of trying to talk about it from the story basis as people would know it on a surface level. But yeah, it really does feel a little more prequel to me. I just don't understand how it could be a sequel, but I'm interested to see how it all plays out. Evie will probably learn the truth about society on Earth, like Eve did. Without giving out any spoilers, I do think we'll probably see that happen, and maybe there's a bridge that could connect her to Eve with that. I don't know. I'm trying to have some hope that Eve is going to be in the game, but we really don't quite see that here. The game heavily seems to be on fist-to-fist combat focus, which seems really exciting. Blades will come kind of later in the game, natural progression of things, it seems like, and so that really looks really cool on the way they're approaching the combat. I did not expect Stellar Blade, with it being Blade, to have a fist-to-fist combat system, but it looks pretty dang good. I'm really excited to play it. All right, let's get into the fun stuff. I'm really excited about this game, so let's speculate here. Let's dream a bit here. Let's imagine a bit here about what I kind of hope to see in this game, and based on kind of what they're showing us so far, that city they showed in the game looks massive. And Zion gave you a pretty big city feel. Like I said, it was very desolate. You could explore quite a bit, but it wasn't very layered. So I'm really hoping to see like larger hubs, not just one hub, like expansive hubs, like other towns where you can engage with different civilians from different types. More NPC interactions would be great, more meaningful side character relationships. I do feel like some of the side characters, there were some in the game, but it only went so far and they were only so important, and there wasn't a lot of cutscenes around these interactions really. I would like to see more of that. A lot of the side quests in game at a certain point just became more of a billboard interaction where it's like, take this side quest, unlock this stuff. Sometimes you really didn't care what was going on. You didn't even need to beat all the side quests to get platinum on the game. That's kind of how little the side quests were in the game. Yeah, so I mean, more of that, more world building, more side quests, more fun things to do outside of like the main story. There were some fun side quests in the last game, but I do feel like this new game really does need to nail that home with more content. Like, that could really be a big part of playing the game and not just replaying it again and again. A lot of Stellar Blade players replayed the game again and again, but I don't know how many people just stayed and played until all the side quests were done. I know I didn't. Combat. So we know it's fist to fist. We know the sword comes later. I actually think it could be really cool if there is another weapon type, not just a gun. We know Eve had the ability to shoot and fire, and that was pretty cool. But I would really love it to see Eve, like, not Eve, but Evie have different weapon types. I'm not really sure what, maybe a bow staff or something. Just something to really change Stellar Blade as we know it, since they're already kind of doing that. And then fashion and unlockables. It'd be really, it's going to be really appealing according to the creator of Stellar Blade. There's an IG article that talks about it. So it doesn't seem like they're going to tone that down, but actually they're going to up it sounds like, which I'm really excited about. Fun costumes are always welcome, but I do hope they make some more badass costumes. costumes that really lean into, I don't know, Evie being a soldier. I do think that was something that was very common. A lot of you guys said that in the comments of my last video, that you hoped that there were just more costumes that were cool and felt more appropriate for the character. Don't get me wrong, Eve had some of that, but it was always a bit of a, I don't know, cutesy or very diva-ish style to it. With the heel feet all the time. It didn't really always seem very realistic in some ways. Some of it was really cool, and I did enjoy all the costumes in the games, the fun ones, the serious ones, but I do feel like there's always room for more of that, the ones that really make you feel like, yeah, I'm an angel, I'm a soldier. So I would like to see more of that. I hope they continue to add costumes past game release and that they're free. Shift Up has been very generous since the last game. Would love to see them continue in that same vein. And more collabs. Those I'm willing to pay for. More collab content with maybe EK again or other franchises that are maybe more relatable to Stoneblade. Would really, really like to see that. And then again, I put this down. I would love to see Eve again in the game as maybe bonus content. If she's not in the main game, give us Eve back, please. I'm begging. Let us play Eve in these enhanced graphics in this great world. I'm sure there'll be mods of that, but it would be really, really cool if they could give us Eve back. Maybe we're just left to just dreaming about Eve from the last game. I don't know. Maybe that'll make the game unique to play with two separate games that are different. But I really just think it would be great to have it back. And next up I have better storytelling. I enjoyed Stonerblade's last story, but it probably was the area that needed the most growth. There was a lot of details in the data you could collect from like the corpses on the map, and you could learn more about the world and learn more about the story in the background, but I would love for the story to be more at the forefront. I think it's cool when games do that where you can collect and learn more, but I really don't pay attention to that stuff a lot. After a while, it gets a little bit tedious. It breaks up gameplay for me. How about you just put more story content, more cutscenes that talk more about this, more indirect in-your-face dialogue that talks more about this. I would like to see that. Let's learn more about the enemies. Let's learn about these terrorists. Let's learn more about the side characters and the main character and their past and their interactions and how they're feeling. Cutscenes for a side quest, I think I said that earlier, would be wonderful, and just a richer cast would be awesome. I think Adam and Lily were a great cast and a great side team to Eve, but they didn't have a lot that they felt like they brought to the table. Adam did have a lot they brought to the table. I stand corrected on that. But Lily didn't bring a lot to the main story. I'm sorry, she didn't. I love Lily, but I would love to see other characters that are also important with the main character. So I think that could be really cool to see. The reason people care so much about Stellar Blade is because it delivered. The combat was fantastic, the boss fights were memorable, and the soundtrack was incredible. And for all the discourse surrounding the game, it succeeded because it was actually fun to play. And now it's coming out on Nintendo Switch. I think the proof's in the pudding here. And I'm really excited about this new game and what it has to bring. I think it's going to get a lot more right with the story, with the character, and I think it's going to bring newer players into the game. I think it has a lot to offer that's kind of hard to ignore when you see that art style, when you see that world, when you see those graphics, when you see that combat. So, can't wait. There's so much that was great about the last game. If you haven't played it, check it out. And with that being said, Stellar Blade is shaping up to be a great franchise with its sequel coming out. Am I surprised that the discourse came back again? No. I wish we could just let games be games, but hey. But am I excited about the game? Yes. Will I miss Eve? Absolutely. But if both games and both protagonists can be worth revisiting in their own right, I think that's a win. And so, yeah, I'm really excited about this game, and if Shift Up can make two great games that are just gems, I'm stoked about that. And with that being said, this is Player One POV signing off. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and ring that bell to stay up to date on future videos. Catch you later, gamers.